Good evening, everybody. Welcome to, I can't even say London. We're all over the world today. I was just thinking it's crazy how small the world has become. We've got people from New Zealand, we've got people from USA, we've got people from Sweden, amazing, Lithuania, Holland. Small world when it comes to electronics nowadays. You know, I grew up in the days when a telephone call was extremely expensive, and to call somebody in Holland or even speak to them would have been just something we couldn't afford in those days. We'd have to sell 2 cattle just for 1 phone call type of thing. It was in the days when cattle was still cheap, I guess. Anyway, that's many years ago. Tells you my age, doesn't it? I remember as a kid playing, I take a matchbox, you know what a matchbox looks like, a little matchbox, and I put a little aerial on it, put an aerial on the matchbox, and I'd walk around. My mom would say, "What is that?" I said, "Well, that's my little telephone. I can talk to everybody with this." And she said, "Are you mad? Nobody will ever get a telephone into a matchbox." And today, they do it without even thinking. Amazing stuff. Time has changed so much. Anyway, all right. Good evening, everybody. I think tonight I want to first of all just say thank you very much to everybody who's attending. Thank you so much for your time and your effort to be here with us. Really appreciate that. I also want to thank Advocate van Staden. I know they've got a big day tomorrow. We are. First of all, I'd like to also just discuss. I'll probably discuss the actual questionnaire we sent out, and I really appreciate the fact that we had over 700 people, 647 at my last count, people who reacted to that. And there are some really good articles that were written, or things that were written by some of the people, and I was especially impressed by some of the articles that were written by people, or not articles, but comments that were made by people who were actually net winners and their approach to this whole thing. So I think maybe we should just briefly, I'm just going to take a couple of minutes for Advocate van Staden to give us an update of what happened in the court case after our previous webinar, and also to give us an update of what is due, more or less, or what is expected to happen in court tomorrow from a point of view of the final presentations that need to be made, and then more or less some sort of idea of what he thinks, what the concerns will be around the judgment, what things would actually be in play in the judgment tomorrow. We also know that Henry Hannibal and his team had a problem. They were with their application to stay the court case, and we know that maybe Advocate van Staden can give us a little bit of background. So, Advocate van Staden, would you like to just come online? Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Chris, and good evening, everyone. I confirm I'm audible. Okay. Well, basically, the situation is not much changed since last. As tomorrow, it will still be heads of argument. It will be heard for the parties that hasn't been heard yet. The liquidators' heads of argument has already been heard by the judge, as well as that from Henry Hannibal's side by Advocate Loots. And then the people of Elna de Jager made a very small presentation or representation to court, but nothing much. So it's up to the last 2 parties to be heard, the heads of argument, and then it's up for the judge to decide if everything that has been presented to her will shift the mind to either grant the Ponzi application, or if the other side waits too much, she will not grant the Ponzi application. But what we must remember, that there's still an application pending by Mr. Henry Hannibal, and at some stage, the Marxists will also part of it, to have the liquidators removed from the liquidation and to get new liquidators approved in total. So that still needs to be heard, and both these court case judgments will have a very big influence on the way how they will be proceeded with MTI, and how it will be, the liquidators will be conducting the business of winding up Mirror Trading International. What I am aware of is that the cooperation of Getaquid is very much appreciated by the liquidators, and I can assure you that those of you who put claims with Chris and his team are in good hands.
So we're very much in no man's land at the moment, Hendrik, is what you've told us. I think it's very difficult with all the various aspects that are playing at the moment. But am I right in saying that, from what I've just heard from you, and I want to repeat that so I can be sure about it, is that the first application is to have this declared as a illegal business practice, which there is a lot of opposition to at the moment. Am I also right in saying that it's not something that was instigated by the actual investors themselves, and that is being opposed as well?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And then also out of fear that some processes may be misused or powers may be abused, that's why there's people who's keeping a close eye to make sure that everything that happens will be in the best interest of the investors and not of the best interest of the attorneys and the people who stand to make a lot of money from the liquidation, as which happened in the Creon case, as we already alluded on in previous webinars.
Okay, all right, that's the one aspect. And then I think the other really important aspect is, which you also said, is the application to have the liquidators removed for not having, well, not performed, I guess. Or is there other grounds as well that there was fraud or problems like that?
We will first have to see what the judge decides, but I'm aware that the applicants and them are not happy in the way in which the liquidation is being handled. But I'm not going to delve much into that, as it is currently before the courts and for the court to make a decision on.
Okay, all right. So in reality, can it sum it up? We can sum it up into two decisions that will or will not happen tomorrow, because we're still not sure that everybody will be heard. Am I correct?
That's correct. But the chances are very good that the last two parties that will complete a heads of argument before the judge, and then the judge will most probably postpone the case again to give judgment at a later stage. Because now the judge must also go and work through everything that has been presented to her, weigh it up against the legal principles, as well as other everything that was put to her by the various councils. And then based on that, she will write a judgment, which will, I presume, might easily take up to a month.
Okay. And is there merit for people to maybe write directly to the judge as a group or anything like that? Is there any merit or room for that type of thing to be presented or not?
Currently not. Everything has been put before the judge, so it's now pure legal. I know previously we did letters were written for support, and that was done at the right time. So currently it won't have any impact. Because remember, the judge must now weigh up all the evidence and then on the scales find which one of the scales tips more in favor of which party. So that is she's supposed to, as a neutral person, she's just supposed to find the law and to direct according to that what is the right view of the South African law at this current given moment.
Okay. All right. I think, okay, so I think that's fine. Maybe what we can do is just maybe, I don't know, is there any other comments there? Anybody else got questions at this stage? Anton, I see you've joined us. Good evening, Anton. Have you got any other questions for Hendrik at this stage, Anton, or comments? Anton, I guess you haven't heard that or something. Anton, you can just raise your hand if you want to add something. Okay, guys, what I'm going to do quickly is I'm just going to maybe, I just want to share this. I think this is really, it's very relevant to the situation we've got at the moment. I want to share the documentation, the reaction which we actually got. Sorry, that's the wrong one. Let me just get the right one up here. There we are, got it. Okay, now I'm just going to find it. Oh, go, share screen. So this what we're looking at there, guys, is the actual poll that we did. As I said to you, we had approximately 650 entries. There are still people who are still filling in at this stage of the game. So what is really interesting, first of all, is we'll go through these one by one. The questions were: do you agree with the liquidators that MTI scheme should be declared an illegal business scheme, or should it be declared Ponzi? And strongly disagree was 313. You can obviously see that the balance is very, very clear, 3.4 approximately, 3.4 in favor of, and this is against 5. So strongly disagree was 5 points and strongly agree was 1 point. So the majority of people obviously want to leave it as it is, a normal business practice. That is a lot of people's opinion. And then, so what you have next question was, do you think you will benefit this investee if the liquidators succeed in their application? And the majority of people believe that we are going to be at a greater loss. And I must honestly say to you, that is also the opinion of our council, that we will live with what happens, but we believe that it not being declared a Ponzi scheme, they have sufficient powers to act on that bill. Maybe Advocate van Staden, you can just comment on that and beat me over the head if I got that wrong. But we are thinking that they've got sufficient powers, and if they need anything specific, they can go back to court to ask for them. But they have sufficient powers under the current status to be able to take the necessary action. Quite honestly, don't see what all these extended powers are necessary for under the scheme. It just disadvantages the investors. Okay, briefly give your opinion, submit a question you may have in regard to sort application of the liquidators. I found this extremely useful for us as well in the way we answer questions. And also, I really, really want to say thank you to everybody. There were some brilliant answers here. And this was specifically a good one, this one here. We undertook to become members of a trading collective in good faith based on the information presented. The required security measures for each account and transparency through 2FA secured back office, regular communication with the members was conducted on a weekly basis. At no time was there any indication that one or part of the owners would steal our BTC. And it seemed at the first time the FCSA were trying to take ownership of a members' funds through the seizures of the PCs in October in 20. I think that opinion is a good reflection of the greater majority of investors. I mean, even the net winners, if I'm sure that the greater majority of the net winners, if they thought it was a Ponzi, would have bailed. They wouldn't have participated. We will post some of these comments as well. We'll do a summary write-up of all the comments because I thought it was very relevant. Okay, then were you a net loser or net winner in the MTI business? It's marginal for some people. It's quite interesting that 133, so around about, what would that be, about 6 or 7% of the people didn't actually know whether they were net winners or net losers. The fact that we've got more net losers than net winners is also by the nature of our poll, because mostly it's to do with the net losers. Okay, and then the last question on there was, there are groups that claim to represent both investors that are net winners and net losers of MTI. The interests of net winners are completely opposite to those of net losers. Therefore, legally trying to represent both these parties is clearly a conflict of interest. And a number of people strongly agreed with that. And on the surface, it seems real. But I do think that it probably is in everybody's interest. There is one common thread in this, and I'm going to stop this share. There is one common thread in this between net winners and net losers. I think that obviously the net losers have a different objective to an extent, but I think there are a lot of net winners who would honestly come to the table and settle out the accounts in an honest and proper fashion, where they might need to make repayments into the pot. I really believe that is true. I don't think they're all in the same. I mean, there are some of them that are going to run away and try all sorts of funny stuff. But I do believe there are a lot of net winners who simply would like to have this settled out so they can move on with their lives. And I got that from the comments some of the comments that came on from net winners. And obviously you can see from that poll we took, and it's difficult because not everybody who's on the database filled in the poll. Obviously, that's the way it works. But it gives really interesting feedback, and we will distribute this information amongst the solicitors as well, and have passed some of that information on to the solicitors already. But I think it's really important that people realize that there is this situation that it's not in. I don't think it's in anybody's interest right now for the net winners and the net losers that this be declared a Ponzi scheme, because it just means that pot is going to be really depleted at the end, and we're all going to suffer as a result of that. Okay, Advocate van Staden, would you like to comment on that, sir?
Because you're 100% correct. And it's very interesting, the polls that you've put forward. And I'm sure that will be taken in consideration for any actions that is thought about in future. And we will still make sure that the best interests of the creditors are utmost, no matter what happens.
Yeah, my conjecture is that the liquidators are working for the investors. And quite honestly, if you look at this poll, they don't have a mandate to bring this court case. That's my opinion. I might be completely wrong, but I would feel that a liquidator should work in the interest of the parties, the greater parties that they represent. And this poll is really, really clear. They do not represent the greater number of investors. And that from that sample, that's what it looks like. And therefore, I would conjecture, my conjecture would be that the case they're bringing, they should actually lose the case, and the cost should not be borne by the investors. The cost should be borne by them for bringing a case which they never took to vote to the investors. So if they had actually got all the investors' claims in, and then said, okay, all these investors have come and vote on this, then that would have been a legal action. I think their action is illegal because they were not given a vote to bring this action that they are bringing in court at the moment. And I challenge them with that. So I think it's really important. I don't think you should give an advocate Winston. I don't think you should give an opinion on that one. It's dangerous.
No, I'm not going to. But this, as discussed, I have to leave you guys.
Yeah.
All of the best, and I sure hope you guys are coping, and you'll be able to answer any questions that arise with regards, especially to the COX system.
Okay.
But we'll keep everyone updated once proceedings start and once it's been finalized tomorrow. So then we can give feedback to all the investors again. Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Advocate Winston. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, guys, that's about it. I don't know at this stage of the game. Is there anything on those comments that we are on at the moment that we need to discuss any further? Is there? What I'd like to do next is just move on to where we are with the various claims that are being submitted and we're working through, and the documentation and all the rest of those things, and where we're going with that. Can I ask Yolanda, you got anything else on the legal side that we need to maybe just take care of?
Not on the legal side. A person said, once we have signed up with COGS and paid for the class action subscription and submitted our documents and uploaded all relevant documents, do we still need to keep paying as the system keeps billing on a monthly cycle? So that is well, an important aspect you have answered before, but I think that would be something to address now.
Yeah, guys, we've minimized the class action costs to something which we had to make a lot of decisions to be able to do this for the price we're at. And at this stage of the game, we're in massive debt to the advocates and the solicitors that are acting on behalf of the of all the claimants. Quite honestly, at the end of the day, the fees are not fully supportive of what's going on and the work that's being done. But at the same time, it is in all our interests that we have representation. And honestly, I really want to say this. If you think about all the other parties out there that are in that court case right now, and where we are part of that court case and being represented by our team as well, there is a very real reason we need to be there, because the net winners have got their own legal teams. Therefore, they are being represented for their for what is of interest to them. The original shareholders are fighting hand and tooth not to be taken apart and liquidated themselves, like the Marxes and the rest of them. They have their legal teams and are using whatever money they made out of the schemes to keep themselves alive and afloat, and are doing everything they can to get their grubby fingers on the funds. And then you also have the liquidators and the liquidators' solicitors all putting their fingers into the pot as well. Now, nowhere in all of that, tell me honestly, in all of that, who is representing the net losers? Who? Tell me, say to me. Is the liquidator representing your interest? Well, by this action, he's not representing your interest. He's gone, the liquidators and their solicitors have gone on their own flipping course of action, and they're not representing you. You're not being represented because you were never asked. You weren't asked, should we get this declared as a Ponzi scheme? This is what we're going to do. Were you asked? Whose money are they working with? And whose money is being used to drive their action, their class actions? I'm not comfortable with this whole thing. I think it is skewed in the wrong way. And the only thing we've done, and first of all, the moment we jumped up and down in January, February, when we went to the liquidators meeting, after that, all of a sudden, they are starting to work on approving these claims. Well, why didn't they start the approval of the claims long ago? That's my first question. And then why didn't they call a proper creditors meeting and say, guys, this is what we want to do. Here is our plan. Has anybody got any idea what their plans are apart from enriching themselves? But quite honestly, I just think it's completely wrong. I think this whole thing is wrong. And I think that at the end of the day, it just feels that they're milking this cow and they're going to milk this cow to death. So I'm not comfortable with this whole thing. I have not seen a single liquidator come out or a solicitor from the liquidators come up and say, look, this is our plan. What do you guys think? Should we do this or shouldn't we do this? Because who are they representing? Who are they representing? Are they representing us? Who's representing us at the moment? Anyway, so the answer is yes, we have to keep the fee structure is built on the principle that we are going to participate and support this because you need protection. If the court case goes against us, we are going to need more protection than what we've got at the moment. So that's a problem. And we are going to need representation, and we should help. We have to help each other by sticking together as a group and going forward together as a group. And if you guys have got any ideas about this and what we can do to improve the situation, or you want to help, or you want to participate, please make contact with us. We're available on WhatsApp. We're available on Signal. We're available on the phones. You can call us. We're there. We're standing there answering the phones and helping everybody we possibly can. And we don't always get it 100% right, but at least we are there and we're working your cases for you. So that's the truth of it. Okay. Any other questions there, Yolanda, you wish to answer?
Yes. I have a person who asking whether it wouldn't be better to employ a no-win, no-fee lawyer. And obviously that is anyone's prerogative. But one, it would be a lot more expensive. And two, there is strength in a group action because Getaquid has moved the liquidators in a direction. And that is because there's strength in numbers, where if you have a lone solicitor acting for you, that is really, it's one voice. Where you have the net winners, they have a lot of money, so they can hire powerful teams to represent them. The net losers are generally people who do not have that much money. And the advantage and the strength is if we stand together, and then there's strength in numbers and we can represent the net losers.
Yeah, I don't think under the circumstances the liquidation law allows that type of thing. I don't know exactly what the terms are of that. We did look into it, but we couldn't find anyone. If there's somebody out there who says I'm a no-win, I'm a no fee, no, if I don't win, I don't get fees type lawyer, then sure, let's talk. Let's find out what your terms are so we can understand it. And then we'd have to look at the legal side of that. I'm not adverse to other ideas. Okay. Okay, shall we move on? Is there anything else on the legal side that we need to take care of at this stage?
No, not that I've nothing new.
Okay. Nerissa, have you got any questions?
No, at the moment.
Okay. Anton, have you got any questions yet? Maybe Anton, it might be in the bath or something. Anyway, all right, guys. Is there if there's nothing else, is there anything on the actual is there anything, if we've got nothing else, I think maybe we can wrap it up this evening. We don't need to make this a long video. The rest of the information is available on the website. There are going to be some changes over the next 10 to 14 days. We are talking to the liquidators and working with claims and claim numbers at the moment. And that seems to be going on quite well at the moment. There's a number of documents we need to brush up on, especially where we've got agents who are now, there are certain people who can't do their own documentation and need to appoint an agent to help get their documentation done. So that is also something we need to look into. And then the child accounts and so on that need to be dealt with as well, which we are dealing with and working through at the moment. We've made a complete list of all the claims that everybody has submitted. And we've got a list of people who haven't submitted their documentation yet. So we will be contacting them shortly. Nerissa, you got anything?
A couple of people just asked, what's the difference between a net loser and a net winner? If you maybe can just, I know you've said that previously, but.
No, it's easy. Basically, the way you look at this is you look at the number of Bitcoin you put into the system. And then you look at the number of Bitcoin you took out of the system. Some people put in Bitcoin and then took out some profits or took out other bits and pieces, trading profits, whatever were reported on the system. If the number of Bitcoin you put in during the period of time is more than the number of Bitcoin you took out or didn't take out, obviously if you just put in, never took out anything, that makes you a net loser. If, however, the number of Bitcoin you took out of the system is more than the number of Bitcoin you put into the system, which is very possible, then you are a net winner. And there are obviously marginal areas that need to be considered. But that's where this whole thing is at the moment. So you just look at the number of Bitcoin, the amount of Bitcoin you put in against the amount of Bitcoin you took out. And those two, if you're negative in Bitcoin number, that makes you a net loser. And if you're positive in Bitcoin number, that makes you a net winner. If anybody has problems with that, and remember, please just get back to, we can work through those calculations with you. That's not the worst or the most difficult thing to do. But please keep it in Bitcoin value, okay? And then it can obviously be turned to fiat currencies once all those figures have been solved. You are not in your calculations, the growth that was reported by MTI is not relevant, nor is the growth is not relevant, and nor is the actual profits which you were awarded. Okay, Anton, did you want to say something?
Evening, Chris. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Anton. Are you okay?
Good, thanks. Good. I just want to mention something. Well, actually, I don't know how to say it. I'm begging or I'm pleading to the net losers out there. I read people's comments about, no, if we don't win the advocates and the no winning, no payment. We've started this. Advocate Van Hendrik has been with me from the start. And I don't think that people out there realize it, but I'm signing the documents and I'm taking all the costs. I've signed documents to take all the cost on myself. And my claim at MTI is not even 10% of what the advocates and the solicitors' costs are at the moment. And how can I say it? We do have strength in numbers, and every person that joins Getaquid and or make a donation of 10 Rand or 10 pounds or $10 at the end of the day is helping.
Yeah.
I've signed the document, so I'm actually, to be honest with you, I'm in big shit if we don't get people in and we don't get funds in. I'm responsible for their costs. So I read the people's comments. I do understand what they say. I do understand how they feel, but I'm pleading and also saying, please see it from my side as well. We started this for the good of it. Somehow it turns into bullshit. And Advocate Van Staden, Ian Ellis, is really getting it back on course now.
Yeah, and if they weren't there, Anton, if there weren't people like you and the advocates, Advocate Van Staden and Ian Ellis, these net losers have got no representation. I don't care what they say. Tell me who's representing the net losers.
Unfortunately, it's me now that started it with Advocate Van Staden. But I can promise you, someone would have done it. Okay? And we might not have Advocate Van Staden, a straight guy that's fighting for us. We might not have him on the team. Then we all would have been in trouble now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think, I think the biggest thing and the amount of time and effort he's put in is absolutely amazing. And I know Ian Ellis as well. They are working on this all the time and answering. And when we get queries, they actually jump in and help. When we've got from our members get queries, they will actually say, no, do this or do that, or take it, do this, or they will. Even Hendrik Van Staden would even go to the liquidators and present our claims and discuss those claims with us. And if we don't have them representing us, we don't have the strength that we've got at the moment. So honestly, guys, and I know that there are some big investors. I mean, one of the investors that we were talking to today had something like it was 50? How many Bitcoin was it? 56 Bitcoin? Can you remember, Nerissa? 56 or something. I can't remember how many Bitcoin it was, but it was a substantial amount of Bitcoin involved in this transaction. And they're doing everything they can to help us to get these things through. And we need everybody to pitch in and help as far as that is concerned. Thank you so much, Anton. I think none of us really appreciate the amount, the amount of support you've given and what you are doing to try and get this solved as well. Really, we're in big debt to you at this stage again. Okay. All right, guys. Yolanda, is there anything else at this stage?
No, not really. We will just publish the information, all the documents that needs to be tweaked, and we are proceeding with submission.
Okay. Nerissa, anything from your side? Are you good?
No, Chris, I'm fine. Yeah, I've added in the chat. I've added the Signal phone number and then our support@getaquid.com email address.
Okay. All right. Anton, anything else on your side, sir?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Okay. All right, guys. So I'm going to basically wrap it up at this stage of the game. What I will also say to you is we will get back to you the moment we get information as far as the court case is concerned tomorrow, and we'll get that out to you as well. And once again, I really want to say that your participation in the poll we put up was brilliant. Thank you so much for that. And the guys who took time to write there as well helps formulate our minds and where we're going, and also impacts at the end of the day on the ways the solicitors can look at these things. Okay, thank you so much for that, everybody. We really appreciate this. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.